Kia ora, good evening. The blame for the deaths of up to 300 cows in lower Southland properties is being attributed to the mild winter season. Because of the milder conditions in low-lying Southland, there's been more leaf material and less sweet swede bulb for cattle to consume. This extra leaf material proving fatal to the systems of some cattle. David Green of PGG Wrightson says the usual frosts that restrict leaf growth and sweeten the bulb have now not eventuated, resulting in more leaf than bulb consumption. Mr Green says there's not a total picture yet on the extent of the problem, but it's thought between 30 and 50 farms are affected, and the illnesses range from mild photosensitivity and liver damage right through to death. Last night there was a special edition of the Invercargill City Council's City Talk, although this time there was no talkback, just an inquisitive city mayor. The show was initiated by Tim Shadbolt, who said he wanted to quiz potential MPs on their thoughts and intentions for the city. Mr Shadbolt sought assurances from all candidates that took part that they would stand up for southern issues and even vote against their party's wishes if required. Here are the responses from National's Sarah Dowie, Labour's Leslie Soper and Green candidate Dave Kennedy.
Say the government had decided no, they weren't going to put that 8 million in, or no, we're not going to put that 30 million in to help the smelter. And you were caught in a dilemma, which I think a lot of provincial MPs often are, between loyalty to your party and loyalty to your subjects or to your electorate. How would you handle that kind of conflict situation?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you can tell by the way things have gone in Parliament of late that John Key runs a very, very tight team. But you can rest assured that within caucus I would be arguing for our cause absolutely fiercely. I would be putting our bottom lines to caucus and obviously backing them up with really firm examples and good argument. But if I failed, I would come back and I would tell you why. And I would explain that very carefully. But rest assured, I would go into caucus full guns blazing for Southland, because like I say, this is the place that my husband and I have chosen for our children, and my overall vision for this province is that I want it to be a province of choice.
How would you resolve that conflict between your responsibility to the local community and your responsibility to your party?
Two quick things before I answer that one. I'll just say on the smelter, what I would have liked to see was a jobs guarantee that went with the 30 million. That's what upset me about the 30 million, that it didn't come with a jobs guarantee that really meant something. So in 2017, where are we? I hope the smelter's going to be there for another 50 years, but we should have got a jobs guarantee. On the issue of the conflict, as far as I'm concerned, I am standing to be the MP for Invercargill. I've been a list MP twice. This time I deliberately didn't put my name on the party list because I'm prepared to leave the list MP role for others. As a local MP, as far as I'm concerned, as a Southland Soper, I am for this electorate. I'll be fighting tooth and nail for this electorate. I don't know what conflict of interest might come up, but there may be an issue that comes up in the next 3 years on which I will cross the floor.
If you are the MP for Invercargill, do you think that there are issues where you just would even cross the floor? Let's go that far. I mean, are you a real advocate for Invercargill?
Well, yes, I am, because it does concern me a little bit again. If we're earning so much of export income and we're a highly, successful, vibrant region, that our airfares are so expensive, because that limits how we do business with the rest of New Zealand as well. So Air New Zealand made some good profits. I'm just wondering whether or not some of that could be directed back into the regions to support the local economies.
And if you did miss last night's screening, then you can see the full City Talkback special on Q Television's YouTube site. New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters was in the city yesterday, addressing voters on what he sees as regional neglect by the current government. Mr Peters believes regions like Southland should be benefiting more from the wealth they generate for the New Zealand economy. Here's some of what he had to say in his 45-minute address at the Invercargill Workmen's Club yesterday.
Are house prices going to the roof in Invercargill and Southland? No. Well, it must be. Surely, because they put the interest rates up 4 times this year to stop a housing bubble where? In Auckland, but not here. And then alongside that, They've doubled the deposit rates. Where? In Auckland? No, across the whole country, from Invercargill to Kaitaia. And we believe in a balanced economy. We believe the balanced economy should reward the wealth creators, and the wealth creators of New Zealand in particular are the exporters. And we believe that no region should be left behind. That's why we have a royalties for the region scheme, which says that any wealth discovered here, first of all, should have these features. We want to be paid decent royalties for them as a country, and that the province from which the royalties are being extracted should be allowed to keep at least 25% in the region. Any decisions on the future of the smelter must take into account the full national interest and not be left to short-term and narrow commercial interests. Now, we can't predict what may happen with the T.Y. Point smelter, but let us say this. New Zealand First will not rule out direct government investment in the smelter by way of the Cullen Fund or our Kiwi Fund, Kiwi Saver Initiative, if that is in the national interest. If gaining a shareholding in T.Y. Point retains worthwhile economic benefits for this region and New Zealand, then we are decisively open to that, because we are economic nationalists. Here you've got the #1 export province in the country, but it's not reflected in the wealth of the people here. And how long has that been the case? Well, for decades now. And this election is a decision you're going to make, whether you've had enough and you do something about it, or you think you can't do anything about it. Whether you're going to decide to do something about Southland's interests, despite its long political traditions, or you are going to go along and say, I don't think I can change things, this is as good as it gets, no matter how hard I work, somewhere else they'll get the wealth. Because those figures, 3% of the population, 80% of the wealth, suggest you should be up at the top of the income earners of this country, not down the bottom.
After the break, we have the Southern Weekend and who is the sharpest in the South. Welcome back. Otara residents rolled up their sleeves and got their hands dirty at the weekend for the 4th annual Bushy Point Restoration Project. About 100 people joined the Otara Landcare group at Bushy Point to plant 1,000 native plants as part of the National Conservation Project Living Legends. The project aims to restore the grazed land at Bushy Point by planting native forest plants, which will provide a corridor for native birds and enhance the existing forest systems. Since the project kicked off in 2011, hundreds of volunteers have pitched in and planted about 11,000 native plants in the area. The relationship between blokes and sheds was celebrated yesterday with the 14th annual Southland Boys High PPTA Blokes and Sheds Tour.
There were 3 busloads of enthusiasts making their way around the 6 sheds chosen by organisers for this year's tour. Organiser Ken Bowie says there was something for everyone, but he did admit that this year there was an emphasis on the automobile, with 4 of the 6 visits made on tour very much for the petrol head. Mr Bowie says there were 3 generations of one family on the tour, and there are some that have been on most of the 13 previous tours, but that there was also a good mix of new faces, and yes, even some blokettes were sighted. Planning is already underway for the 2015 15th edition of the tour, with Mr Bowie saying there is never a shortage of good sheds to be explored.
Stadium Southland was host to 120 table tennis players at the weekend for the South Island Chartered Club Table Tennis Tournament. 30 teams from all over the South Island competed in the 2-day tournament, which ended on Saturday. The tournament was cancelled in 2010 due to the collapse of Stadium Southland, but returned 4 years on to fill the renovated stadium with table tennis enthusiasts. Tournament convener Maureen Gill says the tournament ran without a glitch and added that the stadium was praised by players and organisers alike, who hoped to hold more tournaments there in the future. The South City Outlaws and the Aurora Academics went head-to-head today to promote the upcoming competition to see who has the sharpest mind. Sharon Rees has more.
Outlaws and Academics were at Russell Square today promoting Sharpest in the South, a fundraising stage contest between Aurora College and urban rejuvenation group South Alive. Singer Liv McBride and darts champion Warren Parry are two of the 6 outlaws who will compete against Aurora College teachers on the night.
Everything will go according to plan, but there'll be amazing competitions. It's like the South City Idol of lip sync, of singing, of quiz to find out who's the smartest. There's even kapa haka for the first time ever thrown in. So there's going to be a mighty haka against another haka. So the whole thing is just hilarious. It's fun. You'll laugh more than you ever in your whole life. Come out with a sore jaw, and then at the same time we're raising great money as well.
The event takes place on September 26 at the Invercargill Workingmen's Club. Tickets are $25 and are available from Aurora College and the South City Gifts and Lotto in the South City Mall. All proceeds will go to South Alive and the Aurora College Sports Club. Sharon Rees, South Today News.
The Great New Zealand Craft Show wrapped up for another year at the weekend, with about 2,000 people coming to enjoy the event. With over 40 stalls, the SIT Velodrome was packed with people selling a wide range of crafts. With everything from food to artwork and face painting, there was something for everyone at the 3-day event. Event organisers Jackie Goody and Hayden Roberts recently bought ownership of the craft show. Ms Goody says they brought a new energy to the event. Goody added that she is happy with how their first year had gone and the event had run smoothly. That's all from the news team for tonight. Coming up in sport, post-match reaction following the Stags' narrow win at the weekend. And from us, have a great evening.